All right, welcome back to Captivating Attention. This is the first time we've actually had music, or that we've actually known what the music's going to be.
Yeah, every other time it's just been nothingness.
And you could tell. I think. Josh, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you say you're good. We both say we're good. I didn't say I was good, actually. I don't want to lie. We've had a long day.
It's been a very long day.
Been a very long day. Remy's here. How are you, Remy?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Very good.
Did you?
See him, I believe.
What time did you get up this morning?
Like 9:30.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, right.
It's my normal time.
We were up early, but we're going to get on to why we're up so early a little bit later in the show. Of course, we've got to kick off the episode with our gin choice. Now, Josh, you and I went away the other weekend.
We did.
We do. Wow, what have we got planned? And we stopped in at 23rd Street Distillery, which was...
I'm surprised we left there, to be honest.
Well, it was 10 in the morning, so we're sort of...
It's never stopped me before.
Well, good to know you're a pirate. So we picked up some gin. I'm going to suggest, now we had a little bit of this one, and I say a little bit meaning almost all of it, but I'm going to suggest we try this one. This is the mulberry gin. Have you had many mulberry gins?
I have had a couple of mulberry gins, but
okay.
The one that I remember I've had under not the best suggestion of what to mix it with, and it left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Because the old mate said to have it with soda water.
Whoa, look at that. They hit that.
Heat?
That one got away from me. Right.
And it was not good with soda water. I didn't think so anyway. Not my taste.
We have tonic water tonight, and we have Fever Tree tonic water. Now,
Best.
23rd Street. Have you seen much from them from social side of things?
I can't say I have actually.
No.
I also don't follow them, so that might be why.
That might be why. But they, Remy, you're having some, I assume?
Yes, please. Yes.
I
was
want to do that again. No, it wasn't sick.
No, the first time is always the better way.
Edit the second one out.
Just put the first one over the top of it.
That's it.
It'll be much better.
And then the third one, the sort of sound from the first one be enhanced. Ready? Nice. That was epic.
It had the creaky sound to it as well.
No, it's not. It's going to be enhanced though. I said enhanced.
Oh, okay.
It's like FPI and stuff. All right, let's pour in that and go in that one.
It just looks nice.
23rd Street do have a good brand. They have a very consistent style. You can always tell whether it's one of their whiskies, one of their vodkas or gins, which they do other things.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
This is news to you.
Shows how much I follow them and everything and know what they do.
Well, they do quite well on the branding. I think they've got branding down very well.
I know their artwork on their bottles is always pretty cool.
Yeah, and they keep that sort of consistent style across it. So
yes, they do.
it is very good. All right, let's get into this one. Josh, one for you, Remy. Throw that one down there. I'm sure you can grab that.
Smell those berries.
Oh, they're good berries. It's one of my favourite catchphrases, actually. Smell those berries.
Yeah.
Oh,
that tonic water is much better.
Much better than soda water.
Much better.
I did have it suggested with lemonade.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we had that, didn't we?
Yeah, I did try that.
Yeah.
I was a little bit underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed.
But yeah, whatever that phrase is.
Good. Well,
underwhelming.
That is our gin for this week. The 23rd Street Mulberry Gin. So if you are ginning along with us, that's the one to have. All right, a little bit of an update on captivating attention on our business and how it's progressing. I think the word would be slowly.
Yes.
Slowly, but also extremely promising. So we're still in that sort of admin phase and we're still having some little challenges. We made a commitment. I know we whinged about the bank the other episode and the whinge is back. Still I think we dropped in there to see them and I'm very surprised.
That was probably the last time they even thought about us. Yeah.
So they've got to close business tomorrow. Otherwise we are going elsewhere. We're going somewhere else.
There's always more banks.
There is always more
Someone
banks.
will always take your money.
This is true. So we're going to get that squared away. I'm off interstate as of Wednesday, so it's nice to have something moving along before then. But then we have actually started making videos for some people.
Yes.
And we made one for a fairly big company and they were really happy with it. And they said this was sort of, they lent us an item in our other business. They lent us a product. We made a video around it and they were blown away that they want to hire us to make videos, which is,
it's phenomenally good.
We did the first lot. We didn't do free work. We sort of did free work, but we did it in the way that yeah, I guess we did it in the way that it was helping our other business anyway. So
Yeah.
it was beneficial to us there.
It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, correct. And then this one, from now on, they want to do that. And so we're sort of planning some time to go over to Melbourne and do some filming over there. And so things are progressing, I guess,
We're moving forward.
moving forward. So
Hooray.
that is good. And I don't know if you want to talk about we've sort of rehashed a few systems, or we've talked about rehashing a few things, because we're still trying to get things right on this end with the businesses we run. But I mean, you're never going to be perfect, are you? You're always going to be.
I think there's always going to be a level of this can be a little bit better. You can always find lots of gains in lots of areas. I'm sounding like race cars now. It's on my mind.
We'll explain why in a moment.
Yes.
The other thing that we've done that is connected to this business is we've put a application for a new place to go and move into.
We have.
Because while this place is how it is, it's good, it's great.
It was phenomenal when we got here.
Yeah, it has become very small with our other business, and of course, as we're gearing up to start this one or starting this one, I guess this is for those who perhaps are in business or are looking to start a business or do what we do in sort of video production or anything along those lines. One of your biggest overheads very quickly can be rent. You do not want to get down to rent. So let me clarify some of the statements I guess I've just made. We are looking to go to a place about 4 or 5 times bigger than this. But if you're at this point of captivating attention of this business, do not recommend. I'd recommend probably about the size that we're in now, and that's it.
Yeah. Not where we're going.
Yeah, maybe the studio. We actually filmed this podcast in the office and the studio's there.
Yeah, it's a kind of funny way to do it, isn't it? That I'm looking at the studio.
Yeah. Hello, studio.
From the other side. Yeah.
Whereas we
normally
are
you film in the
the
studio.
office. But we
apparently.
thought it would make sense to have office-related things to a business.
It's much easier than moving all this stuff out there for half an hour.
Takes a lot less effort. Remy's just shaking his head about that. He's like, I'm not doing that.
No.
Next podcast, though.
So, but we have, I guess, so as part of the other company that we're connected to, we've made a bid, and we're going to get a heap of room. There's a massive amount of room there that we have to sort of work out how we utilize, a big area that we want to use as a photo studio or for stuff where sound doesn't matter. And we can film and do all that sort of gear. And
then actually having a space that is the sound treated space where you do all the stuff you need that matters.
So that's another thing that doesn't really affect what we do with captivating attention for the time being, but it will certainly have an impact on our day-to-day if and when it happens. So
yes, it could be in the coming weeks.
Could be very.
I've had people ask me, "What are you doing in the coming weeks?" And I've said, "Don't ask.
Nothing.
I don't know.
No, unsure.
I could be very free or very busy."
Absolutely. So life progresses. This is really like this, just waiting at the moment. We put the application. I sent a follow-up email today to sort of make sure it was there, but just sitting here going, I don't know what our future holds.
Yes, it's that sort of in between, isn't it? Of going, are we, or are we going to have to wait a bit longer?
But I'd tell you this though, that is being in business, like as a permanent feeling. And I know, Josh, you're just starting in sort of this side of things. It is just a permanent feeling of like, so what's happening?
Yo, awesome.
You can do whatever you can, but you're always relying on someone or something or sales to come in or whatever you can. Not that you sit back and do nothing. That's not what I'm getting at. But there is always an underlying element of right. Well, we'll get to this point, and then we'll be. No, you won't.
Yeah, and then we'll have to get to the next point.
Exactly right. It's good. It's exciting. It keeps it on edge. But this feeling is because you do have an endpoint very directly to it. Sort of. All right, and then you start stopping. And then a move is a big thing, and so we stop making some plans, and you start just sitting there, just biding your time, waiting for an email, waiting for a phone call.
There's sort of, I feel like there's kind of that point where it's like, well, if we're not going to, then all right, let's do these kind of things. Well, from my point of view anyway, there's media stuff that's like, oh, we've moved all this stuff and it's not set up now, and it's like, well, I don't want to go and set everything up in this space that we might have to just go, let's take it down again.
Yeah, and there's stuff that we wanted to change in our warehouse and that sort of thing that we're just holding off on because you don't want to spend any, effectively you don't want to spend any money on something that like in 2 weeks could be redundant.
Yeah.
But then again, we could still be here in 6 months. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
How long do you wait?
How long do you wait? You wait till
Not 6 months.
Someone says no. So that is a little bit of an update on our business. So we actually will probably hopefully have our first paid work coming through shortly.
I'm very excited for that, actually.
We are certainly keeping busy enough. There's no shortage.
That's not an issue.
Remy, yourself and Sam, who also works with us, have come on a day extra a week as of this week?
Yeah,
Last week.
Last week.
Last week.
And we had the power go out on my first week, so that was fun.
Oh, yeah, we were trying to yeah, that's right. The power went out and you guys started just running on battery, the light, and taking photos and stuff.
Yeah.
Caveman era.
with
Caveman
lights
era running.
and cameras. Yeah.
That makes sense.
For TikTok. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. You can tell Remy's young, can't
You
you?
need an A7S3 for TikTok.
That's exactly right. Cool. Well, that's a little update on some stuff. So we're gearing up to start doing a bit more.
Yeah,
which is good. And there's a bit of a backlog, so we're trying to clear all of that out for the other side of things.
We are still getting through our backlog and always just looking at improving our little things. Like we're starting to log all the time that it takes us to do various tasks.
Oh, that's a really good, interesting point. Yeah, it's time tracking.
It reminds me that I need to put in how many hours we did today on various things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have done time tracking of and I was time tracking like every single, so 24 hours a day I was tracking everything for about 8-week period.
Yeah.
Fascinating to see how you think you spend your time and how you do actually spend your time. They can be two very different things, and I would encourage.
Yes, I 100% know that today my time was not the best spent.
Yeah. 100% encourage if you're running your own small business or if you're working or whatever you're doing. Time tracking is really big insight because you will what you think you're doing and how busy you think you are generally doesn't correlate to the actual numbers. Yeah,
you can sometimes mindlessly scroll on TikTok for way too long.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Or there's other you're doing other things that are still work but not as important, and you're like, I only do that for about 5 minutes a day, and then you work out that's actually about 45 minutes of your day, and someone else should do that, or you should outsource that, or you should whatever you might need to do, or stop doing it.
Yeah.
These are other things.
I know that is something that I am personally not very good at, where I'll be doing something and then I'll remember and be like, oh, I need to do this. And then I'll be like, oh, no, it'll be really quick. And then I go off and do it and then come back and sit down and I'm just like, and where was I?
Well, I look forward to our commitment section of the podcast. But anyway, we'll hold that on to
I don't now.
a little bit later. I was going to ask you about what you've been looking at from socials and that sort of thing recently, but there's only one answer because it's probably the exact same thing that's been covered completely all over mine. But let's try.
The reason we woke up so early today.
What have you been watching in the last 2 weeks on your social media?
Everything to do with the Miami Grand Prix.
You are.
And their
everything. No, just everything.
Just everything.
Just everything.
Mainly the boats with no water though.
This is true. The Miami Formula One Grand Prix we watched this morning, which is the reason we
was on at 5 o'clock in the morning.
What time did you get up?
3? Oh, 3:30.
3:30.
I was bitterly disappointed when I looked it up last night because I was like, it starts at 5. Normally, I see things that start at 5 and you've got a half an hour buffer. No, the race actually started at 5.
Yeah,
so I was I need to be here before 5.
Broadcast started at 3:30.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I woke up at 10 to 4 and put the broadcast on my phone while I had a shower and did other things and came down here and yeah. Anyway, it was a good race. It was interesting. It was
a good race. Yep.
But there was more so, and I think we're pretty tuned into what's happening in the Formula One world, reasonably so. There was more so much content in the lead up to the Miami Grand Prix that
it was huge.
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
I think it's going to be. It's not even all the stuff that happened over the weekend too. Like this is going to dribble out on all different pages for months.
It was nothing to do with the race.
No.
It was very little to do with the race.
Opened my phone first thing one morning and saw James Corden with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo in crop tops, which was not what I expected.
Let's just clarify. Lando and Daniel were in crop tops. James Corden.
Yes, James Corden was not.
Was not in crop tops.
The day would have started very differently if that was the case.
Extra sneaky shower, that's right. Anyway, the You're right. And so I found myself watching the Red Bull. The two of the drivers from Red Bull went off and went into some water race.
Yeah,
things.
with some weirdly ridiculous cars.
Yeah, they were in interesting vehicles. But anyway, they went and did that, and that was about an 8 or 10 minute video. And what I saw, my observations from this one is there was a lot more big content. So the big YouTube videos, the big, the 5, 10, 15 minute sort of stuff. And then there was a lot of short stuff. There was heaps on the marina that was not a marina, that was just fake water with boats on it.
Yeah, it's painted really nice.
Yeah.
As well as watered paint can go.
Watered paint.
Painted water?
Painted water.
That's the one.
I think so. And it was, it literally took over the feed virtually of everything I was on. And, no doubt the algorithm feeds me all sorts of F1 stuff, which is normal. But normally it's in a fair balance. There was so much content.
I noticed actually about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, my F1 feed from TikTok was just crazy.
Yeah.
That it was almost every second post was F1, F1, F1. Just kept coming. There was one night, I reckon I scrolled about 20 times. It was everything to do with F1. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Have they released a Formula One TikTok? Is that what I'm on? Because it felt like it.
Remy, have you seen any of this? And you're not so connected to the F1 world.
I am not, and I haven't really seen any of it except Ricardo in the crop top. I saw that. That blew up. Yeah. So that's the only thing I've seen.
All right. That's interesting to see. That something still came across your feed.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions or discussion points for you, Josh. And for those listening, we'd also love to hear from you. There's two questions that are raised in my mind. Is big content versus the little stuff. So often in the lead up to a race for Formula One, we see lots of little, behind the scenes and little, quirky stuff, particularly on TikTok, and you see a little bit on there. And then occasionally you'll see some longer form videos and such, but nowhere near the intensity it's been for this.
Yeah,
right, where you've had both being over,
the level definitely took a step up.
Yeah, you've had a lot of those big videos in the lead into it, and then obviously all the standard sort of small stuff. That's one question, and the second question I have is a lot of what we saw came from the teams, right? A lot of what I saw came from the teams, from particularly McLaren, Aston Martin comes to mind, Mercedes comes to mind, Red Bull. What do the teams get out of it?
Yeah, you raise an interesting point.
So let's go back to the first one because I want to let you ponder on that one.
Yeah.
Hero. We often will call it hero content.
Yeah,
and then
the longer form content.
Yeah, the longer form content. And what's common to do is to grab that content and then break it down to small bits and put it out.
Yeah.
Now, we saw a bit of that, but we also saw that. Why do you think there was so much hero content in the lead up to this race?
I think it's a good opportunity to get in front of people's face because there's been a lot of anticipation around this Grand Prix because, I think the Miami and Las Vegas are newer tracks, street tracks. They're obviously in big locations, and I guess the public eye is there on that scene. So, you've got the location, you've got all the stars and all the things in the area. Like I don't know how many. There was people popping up on the screen that the names are coming up, and I'm like, they must be a big deal. I have no idea who you are, but so the star power was there. Mm-hmm. I guess from my, content point of view, why wouldn't you? Just get everything you can. I think I saw the McLaren guys were filming. They had a solid day filming with James Corden.
Yep.
For all sorts of stuff. And I guess it's you've got everything that just comes together in one area. So it's, let's get everything that we can while we can.
Yeah, okay. I think I've actually just been thinking about it while you were answering. And I think I've got an idea as to why. America is starting to fall in love with F1. with Drive to Survive. They had the Texas race kicked off in 2012. They hadn't been in the US for a long time. That's sort of just plucked away in the background. But Miami being Miami, being a well-known location and right in the heart of the city and such, and then Las Vegas coming online next year. These are high-profile locations with high-profile events, and you talked about the star power and that sort of gear. You get a bit of that in Texas, but it's nowhere near to the extent we saw in Miami.
Not in Miami.
And so you've got I think a couple of forces at work. I think you've got F1 who obviously want this to be a success, and it's in there. All the teams benefit for this race to be a success. America's never really been cracked by F1 properly. It's always been this European.
They have one that sort of pops up, drops off. Another one will try and come in. It's always been on the edge.
But because of Drive to Survive, which is this Netflix series that sort of follows and goes behind the scenes of the thing, they've really humanised the drivers and the people involved and sort of really told the backstory. It's been very engaging.
It's amazing insight into the stuff that goes on that you just don't see.
And there's all debate about how real it is and how propped up for TV it is, but there's always an element of truth for sure. And certainly it creates connection with I remember watching F1 many years ago, and it's pretty much these guys in helmets.
Yeah.
You're just in the car and you barely...
You would see the guys that won because they go up on the podium and they take their helmets off. But yeah, I very much know what you mean. Is they come along, race, the winners, you'd see the winners, and then everyone would go home.
And you get to know these people. Anyway, so I think obviously F1 are pushing for content because they want it everywhere and they want everyone in America to know that this race is on.
Yeah.
But also, perhaps this answers my second question and then circles back to the first, is why are the teams doing it? What do they get out of it? Well, at the moment, US is open for market share. Yeah. And so if you can present your team as the one, the exciting one, the one to follow, maybe not the winner, but the most interesting, one.
You've got the personalities, the guys that they're not necessarily going to win every time, but you're like, I just like this dude.
Yeah, exactly right. And that is there is so much market in the US for that at the moment because it's effectively a new market, or there's such growth that there's such a new market. And I think that the strategy from the teams is to be like, well, we're going to put Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda into these ridiculous Miami-based, they run through the swamps type devices that they go on, and we're going to race them. And they had two other guys, a skateboarder from Australia, I think. I could have that wrong.
Can't remember the other guys. I just remember looking at the buggies and cars going, whoa, crazy.
And so we're going to do a video around that sort of, and introducing these two people to the American market, and then same with with the stuff with James Corden and all these sort of other connections that are made. And I think that is really about opening that up so you can sort of get a whole stack of McLaren fans that would have didn't really know which team to back, and they're like,
they've just seen Drive to Survive and gone, actually I kind of like these couple of guys. Let's start getting into this.
Yeah. Or even haven't seen much of that, but just hear the buzz about it and then go, these guys are funny because they wore crop tops with the late night host. Let's follow them. Or these guys were interesting because like Pierre Gasly had dinner with Michael Jordan. Well, that's interesting. Who's this guy who gets dinner with Michael Jordan? And I think they play that up. And so that's where I think that the big emphasis on that big content. There's a big story to tell. When there's a big story to tell, you go big on it. Yeah, we do this in our world, in our small little world. When there's a big event on, we make a big video about it. Yeah. And then we filter out the photos and the behind the scenes.
You have some of that star power of you've got Michael Jordan, James Corden, whoever else. It's, why would you just get a 30-second TikTok when you can get a big video and like 17, 20 little 30-second videos?
Yeah. So I think that's what the teams get out of it is that fan base. And because I think the effort has gone into it because it's such a fresh market that it's ripe for the taking.
Oh, very much.
If you can make a connection between your drivers or your team principals, and that's where unusually they did Thursday night, they did like an introduction to all the drivers. And it was a big concert, really. Yeah. And they had all the drivers and they had all the team principals there, which I found very...
Yes, which is, they don't get together often.
No.
And not at all.
Since Drive to Survive, the team principals have become much more of the celebrities and the stories.
Yeah.
To play along with. So anyway, they're my musings on it so far.
Yeah. I think also added to that, it also comes back to Formula One is a money game. Mm-hmm. It's sort of no secret that whoever generally has the most money and resources is more or less at the pointy side. And F1 is obviously pushing very hard to push that American market. I think they spent like $200 and something million buying land in Vegas just for their pits.
Wow.
They spent some ridiculous money to sort of get that all happening.
I mean, that wouldn't get you much in Vegas, but it's good. That's almost a good night out.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so there's, getting that market, and I think the key, having the next few years is a big push to make sort of solidify F1 into F1 to go like, no, we are here and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's an open market.
So there's longevity to it, isn't it? If you can get buy-in early on, then you can add more events and people will continue to come to them and come to them for next decade.
Yes, and if you can have a couple of good events in a few years, is that then the word of mouth spread of, I went to the Miami Grand Prix and it was epic.
Yeah. Next
year you're going to have the tickets sell out in no time, and then it just keeps going and going.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. We're not sitting here going, oh my gosh, there was so much content. Where did this? I mean, we know why, but I'm curious to break that down even further and see where the real benefits and who, you wonder whether or not F1's like giving the teams a budget to go and make stuff.
Yeah.
To boost the event, but I don't think so. I think the teams have the benefit. They have the benefit of building fans.
There is some teams that go to the extra effort to kind of get all this stuff on the way, and they put the content you see from them is phenomenally good. And then there's a couple of other teams that see stuff and it's like, that was okay.
You see that we went to F1s a few weeks ago, and you see that McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. Now I think that's it. All have merch stands.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah, big dedicated.
And they have those, like, they don't just have 4 stands there. They have these 4 stands in one area, and they've got the same
on the other side of the track and in the middle of the track.
Correct. And so but you don't. And then you've got sort of another F1 stand that has a little bit of merch from everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And so obviously these teams just have, can justify having, paying staff and having this merchant just dedicated for that. Whereas, if you wanted to buy I was going to say Sauber, but Alfa Romeo,
back in the day.
team. You buy an Alfa Romeo, it would have been much harder to locate that.
Yes.
Yeah, as opposed
it's not just look around and going, there's the Alpha stand.
I learned a lot about, looking at that going, there are some big brands within F1, and then there's just some other teams. And so I guess it is for – and then those are the brands that really had the land grab in the US that are producing content. And so about the content itself, who did well? Who do you think did well?
I saw the most from McLaren, and I don't know if that's just because I follow them and like a lot of their stuff.
You follow most of the teams.
I follow most of the teams though. Yeah. I think McLaren was sort of the one that I saw the most from. Okay. I reckon after that would be Red Bull. Saw a bit from Red Bull.
I saw more than normal from Red Bull this time around.
Yeah. They've been a bit quiet last year. I didn't see a lot from Ferrari.
No, we've talked about this before, that Ferrari are much more conservative. Although the times that they're not, they don't seem to pull it off very well.
No.
Yeah, they sort of try a little bit, and they don't quite nail it.
Yeah, you look at it and you go, oh, you tried. You tried.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Aston Martin always do a really good. I saw plenty from Aston. I thought they were good. So
yeah, I didn't see a lot from Mercedes this time around.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw a reasonable amount from them.
I didn't see much at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw more from Williams than I did from Mercedes.
Williams really tried to flex with now Williams, for those who don't follow F1, they're right at the end of the grid. They're not doing great.
They're not doing great. They have a huge history in F1, but they're not in a good place at the moment.
No, but they were flexing merch, and they had more merch than anyone. And yeah, it was very interesting.
They had some funky merch.
Yeah,
too.
they did.
That's some very funky merch.
And we saw that sort of so many of the cars or drivers' helmets had like Miami focused artwork on them.
Yes,
which was
they all sort of brought something to the table in that department.
And I think that was more of a collective of sort of. All right, we are collectively trying to build F1 in the US, so we're gonna tweak our car a little bit. Again, it's probably still it's such a market grab such a land grab for fans.
Oh yeah, it'd be huge. I actually started following Lando Norris on TikTok. So
Yes.
I didn't realize I followed him, and then saw his basketball helmet pop up.
Wasn't that phenomenal?
That was amazing.
It was
very well done.
Remy, did you see this?
I did not.
You did not.
No.
You got your phone with you. Have a look. Lando Norris basketball helmet. Look that up, and then give us your reaction as it comes across. I think it was interesting to see. And look, we're not going to talk about F1 all the time. It's not going to be the focus of this discussion. But it was a really such a big event with so much content in the lead up. Do you think at all, Josh, that there was so much that it was overwhelming? For if you were an average punter, so to watch Drive to Survive a little bit, you're like, oh, I'll check this out. I'll wake up. Oh no, wake up because I didn't have to do that. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. I will watch this race. This is interesting. It's here. I'm going to check it out. Was there just so much? Was there too much?
I'm not sure because I saw a large amount of things, but I didn't see enough stuff pop on mine that I was like, this is just ridiculously crazy on Miami.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Do you think? I mean, it's a common thought in advertising that if everyone's advertising, then no one's advertising. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're advertising for your brand, you're spending $30 million, and I'm spending $30 million. We're just playing keep up with each other. And the advertising company's doing really well. There's always that question of like, what if we just stopped over? And brands have done this. We'll look into this one day about brands that just pull their advertising budget. But anyway, I wonder whether or not because there's so much, everyone's just thrown so much into it, whether or not it became a little bit white noise.
Yeah, I guess I understand where you're coming from. I think maybe there might be a little bit. I think that sort of depends on the personality of the people watching.
Okay. Yep.
Because for me, I could happily watch it pop up on my feed all day.
Yeah, I know.
I'm quite happy with that. But I guess for some people,
did you all get to the point where you're like, did you have the feeling of, it's more Miami stuff? Because I did.
Maybe towards the end of it, today. Oh, no, not today. I saw a lot of stuff that I was like, that's brilliant.
So let me clarify that, because as of today, or even as of this weekend, there was now new content, right? The new content being
the race.
There's information. You're quite into the racing, and so therefore, who's qualified where and what happened and how many red flags and all this sort of gear. That's interesting to you, which is fine. I'm talking about in the lead up, basically the Miami hype train. Did that get to a point where you're a little bit not sick of it, but a little bit sick of it, a little bit over it? You're just like, okay, just get to the race already. Because I definitely felt that.
Yeah, no, I don't think I felt that.
You don't have to. It's okay. We don't have to agree on things.
No, I didn't. It might also have to do with the fact that I was out doing stuff on the weekend, so I wasn't looking at my phone.
Okay. Yeah.
That's also a factor.
Nice. I think just, I'd go to the YouTube, YouTube on the TV, and just everything video was F1. Miami. No. Everything being F1 is not uncommon experience for me. Yeah. Everything being F1 Miami. Every video. Sometimes I'll go there and I've watched a bunch of F1 stuff recently, so the YouTube's feeding me all the F1 videos. But I'll get videos over the last 10 years about F1, about, F1 in the 80s and this and all this interesting stuff. But this was just dominated.
Pure Miami.
Because there was so much content. just from that. And of course, you've then got all the small creators and other, media sort of entities and stuff like that who all produce supporting content. So anyway, perhaps this podcast is getting a little bit too much Miami.
It might be. We have jumped on the Miami hype train.
Yes. We're going to get off. But before we do, what's your reaction to Lando's helmet?
It's fabulous. I did find it. It's pretty creative.
It is, isn't it?
I'm sure we can get a photo up of it.
We could probably better than my phone.
Yeah, but yeah, I just that was.
We have to put his TikTok up.
That was.
Did you see the TikTok he did with the basketball
and
the
helmet?
Threw
it up in the air and it landed and it was on his head or no. Anyway,
it wasn't actually.
Yeah,
I was hoping it would be. I was hoping it would come down and it would just go on his head.
Yeah.
Come on, McLaren, up you.
Alrighty. Well, look, there's much to learn about these big events and there's support there, but it's always interesting to try and work out sort of what the benefit is, because if there's no benefit, companies like that, you said it,
you wouldn't do it.
F1's a money game; they wouldn't do it. So it's always interesting to look at that and how that can relate.
The whys of why they do it.
But it's I guess there's probably a lesson in there in terms of like how do you relate to like it's a billion-dollar industry. Down to a small business and what can we learn from it. And I think that sometimes when you've got a big story to tell, using big hero content is really valuable, and then taking that and breaking it down. So if that's going out and this is something that I want to get into, because we haven't done it for a little while. We haven't done like a real dedicated go and actually film something that we set up. We've gone and covered events, but that's different to being like, right, we're going to create an event.
Yeah.
To film. So that's something there. Challenges, commitments. That's what I meant. Commitments. Yes. What was your commitment last episode?
My commitment was to post, I believe it was five informative posts a fortnight. Mm-hmm. It was a fortnight or a week.
It was in a fortnight. With goal was for a fortnight. Yep. How'd you go?
Yep. I think I did better than I think I did, but nowhere near what I should have done.
How many of the 5 did you get?
I reckon I did 5 posts all up over like one brand.
Okay. That were informative. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got halfway.
Oh, so you're trying to do over 2 brands.
This was over 2 brands. So I got one brand. I didn't get the other brand.
So why? What held you back from the other one?
Me.
Yeah, but
in terms of
obviously it was you because no one else did it.
Yeah, Remy, why didn't you do it for me?
What held, like, was it a lack of like the knowledge that you were trying to impart, or was it the content, or what?
I don't think it was. It was more my time management of actually scheduling in sort of the filming to get the stuff, because I had a few videos and ideas that were there of like, all right, I'm gonna this and this.
Yeah.
And then got wrapped up in doing all of the other things that we do, and then not actually getting around to the grabbing of someone that does know the stuff about the product to go, hey, can I grab you for maybe it would have been 20 minutes? Film this. All right, cool. I'm good now. Yeah. And then go. Yeah. Just didn't get to that actually. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to grab you and film you.
Yeah, I think that's very that's a good observation. And like I know what the last 2.5 weeks have been like. I know there's a reason we're filming this on a Monday night where we normally film on a Thursday, is because I'm off to Perth. This has been we had a month, and it was the first 2 weeks of that month, but we haven't had a month now. We're 5 days short of that, and we had a massive event that we were building up to, and that's been there.
Yeah, so that chewed up a week and a bit.
And I understand we've had staff shortages as well for varying reasons. So I totally understand it. But I think also that like what could you have tweaked to do it?
I think just the commitment to free myself up. I think there was things that I was doing in the time.
Yeah.
And there was opportunities where I could have come to grab someone to go, hey, here's the 20 minutes, let's quickly film something. But I wasn't conscious enough to go, oh, all right, no, like it's time. Let's set it up. Let's do it now. Yeah. I was just wrapped up in doing the other things that I was doing that could have waited. 100% could have waited until the next day.
Okay. let's while you think of your next commitment, which I may have already thought of, but while you think of your next commitment, my commitment was to post 2 a day for a particular brand that I was leading up to for 2 weeks to the event. I believe I missed 3 posts.
Okay.
Over that time period.
Yeah.
So that was 14 days. It was 28 posts. I think I got 25 out. That then made up for it on the weekend. I got a heap out. So if we're talking raw numbers, but that wasn't the commitment.
Yeah, I think we were talking in the lead up to the event. I think we even spoke that on the event it'll just be like there'll be heaps to be posted.
And there was one day where I only got 1 post up, and there was one day where I got none up. And it was one of those ones where I got to and it was just one of those days that falls apart. Now, where I should improve on this and need to improve on this is I didn't schedule any posts with the exception of like scheduling it for a couple of hours away.
Yeah.
What I will do next time is to sit down for a couple of hours and schedule out those 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I probably could have solved these problems in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or done a week at a time.
Could have had a week ready to go.
Correct. And I've seen you do that, and I have done that previously, and it's really good. But I'm continually balancing with this particular brand of like sponsors versus useful versus information versus responsive posts as well.
Yes.
So scheduling isn't always ideal, but I could certainly have scheduled 1 post a day and then backed up the second post a day.
You just have that 1 post that you've got to go, all right, I've got to get 1 thing out today.
So I think it was obviously a fail. I got close, but again, a lack of looking back on the schedule. And it's amazing when you, we spend a lot of time looking after customers and doing those sort of things, and that always takes priority. And then this is stuff that we're meant to be doing outside of hours. Not so much for you, but for me, outside of hours. And it is one of the first things sometimes to go under.
Yes. Yeah. Everything else comes first, and it's very easy just to let it go at the wayside. Yeah. And then you wake up the next day and you go, oh, that's right.
Yeah. So what do you think of the next 2 weeks? Because we are, for those listening, we'll break all the fourth wall, so look straight to camera. This is our third episode of this podcast, and we haven't released anything yet.
No.
So we've had no feedback from anyone. We've only Remy just tells us how bad we are.
Lies.
Really?
Lies.
Oh,
he tells me we're fine, but I think that's just because he likes his job.
You guys are doing amazing. Keep going.
I think he's just trying to get some more gin. I
would too.
And so we are into the third episode, and now we're going to launch it. That is I guess one of our.
Yes, we said we would get a couple of episodes under the belt recorded, and then we'll start dropping them.
So not this week because I'm going to be away.
Yeah.
But let's commit next week. Here's my commitment. Is that next week we will launch the Captivating Attention brands, and once we start, put an emphasis on TikTok. I want to see us getting 2 TikToks a day as a minimum.
Yep.
Until from next week until we do another episode, not to then stop, but to be there and to be doing what we can to share our knowledge from what we've learnt and what we continue to learn and the mistakes we've made and the mistakes we'll continue to make, and also the wins we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good goal.
What's your commitment?
I really don't know. I'm kind of thinking the time tracking one should be my commitment.
I think it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I realize how much time I waste.
I reckon here's I'm going to throw this to you. Here's something that's accountable. So the next episode, that's going to be just over 2 weeks' time. All right.
Yes.
Next episode, I want you to come with a breakdown of your time, your working days.
Yeah.
So that you can show that you spend 17% of your day shooting Remy with a Nerf gun, and then you spend 50% of your day making food or coffee. And whatever it may be.
Then another 25 on TikTok.
What are we doing here?
Spending 5% of my day working.
So I'd love to see a breakdown sheet of like your day and how it looks and those sort of things. I'll give you a few days to prepare. So as of Thursday, we'll start tracking that information as best you can, and then we can look through that. And it's a really good exercise. And I've done it, and I'll happily do it again. Perhaps as a future commitment for me. But to see how your day rolls out, you do it, and you become self-aware of it, and then you do it again in 6 months.
Yes.
And you see if you've improved or not. But anyway, let's get the first data point.
Yep.
For that.
Yeah. Log something down.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk off air about the ways of doing that, but I'd encourage you. It's very, very useful to do.
I'm keen, but not keen.
Sounds horrible. Excellent, guys. Thank you very much for watching and
or listening.
Or listening. Yeah.
Depends how they like their podcasts.
Well, this is true. It's up to them. Up to them. Anyway, the music's coming in. We're fading out.
Cool.
See you later. Cheers.
See you next time.
Thanks, Remy.
Thank you.